Let's talk about the tangle of the mind. Why it's so tricky. Why it has zero chance of being correct. Awareness, no thingness, the complete, open, infinite, expansive potentiality of all and nothing, is playing a game of generating a finite reality within itself, which is infinite. This reality experienced by awareness, not experienced by humans. Humans don't experience anything. They are the apparatus, they are the equipment, the thing that you are experiencing. The experience of the human includes the mind. We can use the mind to generate reality. When there is a belief in the mind as me, a reality is then generated based on that belief through mind. Mind becomes the maker of the illusion, the indirect maker of the illusion, powered by belief. When I buy into the idea that the mind is me, I'm then going to see everything as though the mind is me. So instead of seeing a vast reality with limitless potential based on my ability to create, I'm seeing distinct objects and these individual things that seem to have their own reality. But the reality of the thing is the awareness that I am. But when I buy into the mind only, regardless of whether I believe it or not, the mind only functions dualistically, only functions in the illusion according to the supposed limits of that illusion. It can't do anything more than that. It's never going to grasp the truth. And yet, because for so long there is the belief that I get things done through mind, that I figure things out through mind. And this belief is only there because mind has learned ingeniously to cover up the true intelligence of me, of awareness. Because I believe that mind is the way to handle things, reality is being generated around this belief, which just continues to absorb my attention. This is why I've said before, attention is your power. It's the only power. It is the way that all of this is being generated. Your piece in that as the individual, as this little section, let's say, of the overall fabric of awareness. That's what can be impacted through the attention that this individual piece places on whatever it chooses. I can choose to see the things as things, individual things with their own reality, and everything's going to support that. When I buy a blue car and I see a blue car everywhere, this is a kind of a similar or maybe the same mechanism. Wherever my attention is, if it's on the outside things, then I will have a world of outside things. if there's a strong belief in myself as the body, there will be the experience of typically of attachment to the body then, and a fear of the dissolution, the no longer being of the body, as though I will no longer be. The longer we sit with this, the longer we sit with this mechanism of the fear of myself no longer being, the more we realize it's because myself no longer being runs counter to reality. It's not a thing that can happen. And so it feels very unnatural, very bad through filter of mind. Ultimately, there is no reality without me. I am the reality of all of this. And the reality of all of this can only be experienced now, in this continuous now. Mind tells the story of duality. This happened to me. I didn't like it because it threatens my being. It threatens my sense of even existence. And I will endlessly weave a narrative about how this doesn't really reflect on me. I'm actually good, or I'm actually really bad because of this thing. None of this has anything to do with you. You're experiencing a mind that is reflecting what you have, we could say, consented to in this moment through your attention, in the continuous moment of now, through your attention, your sustained attention on mind. Mind becomes reality. And so it feels that without mind, I will die, or I will never have been, or whatever it's telling you. That it's really dangerous. That it's dangerous to be alive. That it's dangerous to place my attention in the now. For some reason, I mean, the more we look at why the now feels so dangerous, why the mind puts up such a roadblock against just being here now, the more we see that it can't possibly be us, and it can't possibly be rooted in true intelligence. This idea of danger cannot be real when what is dangerous is the only real thing. What is seen to be dangerous by the mind is the only real thing. When we start to recalibrate, shift attention into this moment, we will notice that whenever a thought comes up, there's an idea of a me. And I didn't get this for quite a while. Well, if the mind is just going on about the trees, there's no me in that. But there is. There's a fake me that is narrating a story about the trees. That story about the trees is unnecessary. It's a bunch of symbols about the truth, about this apparent reality in this moment. So it's a layer of separation from the raw truth, or just the raw realness of this, making fake, making not quite true what is real through a story. In yoga, the chitta vritti are the fluctuations of the mind. There are 5 modes, 5 modulations, I think is a word, on experience. There's just raw experience, just what is. And that is the truth, the only truth. And then from there, there is, I want to say perception, and or the labeling of something as tree, the creating a story about it, the dreaming about it, and the remembering it. All of these. So our memories are not to be ultimately trusted. They're of mind. The stories about anything, the way that we label anything, none of that's true. To look at what we call tree and to immediately label it tree is already one layer of separation away from just the open experience of what is. Every video is talking about and around the truth. And it seems like every video, someone comments and says, "Why do you make these videos? The only real truth is silence." And that's true. It's true. At the same time, I know all is well. Nothing needs to happen. And yet, the energy that is coming through this experience is presently geared toward conveying imperfectly what is experienced prior to mind. But the only truly valuable thing that can ever be given by any of us, which is just the one of us, the only truly valuable thing that can be given to a so-called other is space, holding space, simply being with the experience of that so-called other without interpreting it. And so in a perfect world, in a world without the kind of mental variables that exist, I would just sit. I would just sit, and you would just sit. And together, yet separately, it would be perceived, understood that I am sort of communicating. I'm using this equipment to communicate with myself. And in whatever way that unfolds, it is from love. So regardless of these apparent insurmountable conflicts that are taking place on the surface of all of this, love, unity, and oneness is behind this very unnecessary, very chaotic, effortful way of existing that is unfolding for so many. Behind all of that is love. That's another thing that took a while to really get. When I would hear that there is love in everyone, that there's that we can see ourselves in another, there was resistance to this, especially with those experiences for which there are choices to sow discord and separateness. How can that be the same as me? How can this sort of hatred come from the same place as the love that is coming to the front of this experience. But it's just that. It is myself. It's experiencing a supposed lack of myself in this game. And sort of really grieving that, not knowing how to grieve that through this equipment, not knowing how to make some kind of correction to that. And so trying all the ways that this game offers, failing, perhaps getting more frustrated, feeling more separate than ever. It all comes down to that. There is no enemy, there is no villain in this story. I don't use the word evil, and therefore I don't perceive evil in my experience. That's not part of my belief system. There is no evil, there is only unconsciousness, there is only forgetting my true nature in various forms and remembering it in other forms. The mind is like a veil. But it is also exactly the veil that I need to have a convincing, meaningful experience where it feels like I don't know the outcome. I don't know how this is going to go. This is how the game becomes worth playing. If you already know the outcome, if you already know, you still remember your past lives, your true nature, always, then there are no hills and valleys to experience. It's all just oatmeal. Just this chaos is the flavor that gives meaning to the doing of all of this, the apparent doing. And yet, mind is not going to be the way that we see past this. The only way we can use mind is with strong determination, the ability to sort of stay on task with self-inquiry, using mind to deconstruct itself, to poke holes in itself, let's say, with which your light will simply shine through effortlessly. I know it can feel very scary. I know that there is this attachment to the body as though your life depends on it. Your life does not depend on the body sticking around. I know this runs counter to societal beliefs and values, and I know in the short term this may be experienced as isolating. But this is ultimately the only truly and permanently liberating thing to know about all of this. You are already okay, completely safe, completely free from the fate of the body and the mind. How do I know that? Because when I go beyond mind, when I shift my attention, when the eyes become soft, the whole body becomes soft. I sit back in this chair, right? The body sits back in this chair, let's be accurate. Attention opens outwardly and soft. Instead of straining to focus on one thing, the eyes are completely open. The ears perk up with curiosity to listen to the next sound that's going to keep coming. I recover curiosity for just this moment. I sit in this moment. What is there? Peace, joy, bliss, effortlessness. Even as the human is doing, there is effortlessness, there is peace. This is the only thing that has always been here. Everything else must then be transient, ultimately unreal, ultimately subject to change, in contrast against the changeless peace, joy, love that I am, that the only thing that I can be. The only constant is effortless freedom, love, and liberation. With a filter of chaos and powerlessness. That is how I know all is ultimately well. The one unchanging thing is the only good thing and thing worth placing attention on. This is what the shift is.